very good morning to all my dear students. Students, now in this tutorial, we will study about Salt Satyagraha. In earlier tutorial, we have studied about the framing of the constitution, the need for the laws, the legitimacy of laws, that why laws are needed. We needed laws to eradicate the social evils and to establish an egalitarian society. Now, in this tutorial, we will study further the various acts which have been passed to eradicate the social evils prevailing in the society. So now, let's read the chapter. Salt Satyagraha. This movement was started by Gandhiji in the year 1930. This movement is also known as Civil Disobedience Movement. Now what is it, Salt Satyagraha? That the Britishers, they have a monopoly that only they will have the right to make the law. So to make the salt, sorry, not law, to make the salt. No Indian was allowed to make salt. The Indian people were against this law and they started protesting. But the way they protest against this law, they adopted the means of non-violence. Through non-violence, they protest against this law. Non-violence means no sort of fighting was there. So, in a very cool way, they was against this law and they protest. So, this is known as Salt Satyagraha. But how Gandhiji done it, that we will read. Satyagraha refers to force or strength of truth based on non-violence. Means they were fighting for the truth, that it's fighting for the truth, and that truth is based on non-violence. That means dissent of law. Dissent means it was against the law and they fight through the process of non-violence. There was a non-violent protest called Salt Satyagraha against the unjust law. What was the unjust law? That no Indians would allow to make the salt. So framed by the British government. Now we will study how it was done. Dandi is a village situated on the sea coast of Gujarat. Gandhiji made an announcement that he would defy the salt laws. Gandhiji left Sabarmati Ashram with 78 members of the ashram on 2nd March 1930. They travelled the distance of about 350 km. Gandhiji, along with his followers, reached Dandi and broke the salt law. So, where was salt law broken? It was broken at Dandi. Yes, you know that the salt, it is made from the sea water, from the oceans, from the sea water. So, Gandhiji, along with his followers, he reached Dandi and he travelled about 350 km and broke the salt law. At that time, making salt was a monopoly of the British government. Means only the British government will make the salt and no Indian was allowed to make salt. So see, this how through the non-violence method, Gandhiji broken the salt law. The unfinished work of the non-cooperative movement was carried forward by the civil disobedience movement. So what is a non-cooperative movement? This movement was also launched by Gandhiji and it aimed at self-governance and obtaining full independence. Non-cooperative means aiming at self-governance, means now British government should go away from here, a self-government of India should be there, and to obtain full independence from the Britishers. That is the main motive of the non-cooperation movement. But it was not finished and then it was carried, this movement was carried forward by the civil disobedience movement. Hartals put their life to a standstill. The entire country was involved in it. So in this Salt Satyagraha, whole country was involved. People, what they done? They boycotted schools, colleges and offices. People stopped paying taxes. In the northwest frontier province, the movement was led by Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. So in the northwest side of India, Who led this movement? Who led the non-cooperation movement? It was Abdul Ghaffar Khan, which is also popularly known as Frontier Gandhi. So in this civil disobedience movement, not only few states are united, but whole country is united, because all people were against this Salt law. For a few days, the British control over Peshawar and Sholapur. The movement was totally violence free. Still, the movement was violence free. There was growing support for India's freedom struggle, as reports and photographs of this extraordinary protest began to be surfaced in newspapers around the globe. So, now India's freedom struggle was growing, was in a full support. How it can be said? Because of the reports and photographs which were published in the newspapers. Yes, that reports and photographs showed that there was a growth in the India's freedom struggle, that all now there was a sense of spirit of nationalism among the people, because all wanted to get freedom from the Britishers. Now we will study anti-liquor agitation post. Agitation here means the situation in which people protest or argue. So now we will study anti-liquor. Liquor here means that strong alcoholic drinks. Excessive drinking is one of the worst social evil. It results in the ruin of the lives of many people. People waste their hard-earned money on liquor, which is very bad to their health. As you know that excessive drinking also ruins the life of the people, not only the life but also their families. So in order to stop this excessive drinking, because it was a social evil, it was a social evil. So anti-liquor agitation post was started in the year 1947. Mahatma Gandhi tried his level best to eradicate this social menace. Due to his untiring effort, prohibition of liquor has been included in the directive principles of state policy in part 4 in our constitution. So this prohibition of liquor, yes, it is included in the directive principles of state policy. What are directive principles? These are the guidelines given to the Federal Institute for Governing the State, means guidelines for the government how to handle the state, that are called as directive principles of state policy. And it was also and this prohibition of liquor is included in that. In 1956, a prohibition enduring committee was formed in order to examine this problem and suggest measures to control it. So for this, for eradicating this social evil, in 1946 a committee was formed, a prohibition enduring committee, to stop to look after this problem and to suggest measures how to control this problem. The recommendations of this committee were accepted in 1956 and a resolution was passed in the Lok Sabha to make it a part of our development program. Prohibition of liquor has also been made a part of 5-year plan. Okay students, so what is a 5-year plans? These are the plans which are made by the government for achieving some objectives, like for economic growth, full employment, for social justice, for economic equity. These 5-year plans are made. In 5-year plans are made with different motives. Like for example, one 5-year plan is made for the full employment, that in 5 years there shall be full employment in the country. So like this, different motives are there, and according to that the 5-year plans are made. Several states have made attempts to introduce partial or total prohibition, and many states, they have introduced many kind of reforms in order to have a control on this excessive drinking. Along with the laws, social awareness is very important to control evils like drinking and practices like dowry. Not only the reforms can play an important role, but there should be a social awareness among the people about these social evils. And for this, many voluntary agencies are there, many NGOs are there. Yes, they also work. They are also doing a lot of work to give up these habits among the people. However, the government also need to take stern measures against those who deal in illegal distribution of liquor and drugs, as well as those who demanded and give dowry. So, government should also suggest various kinds of there should be strict measures. So, against these against the illegal distribution of liquor, as well as about drugs and related to dowry. So many voluntary agencies, NGOs, they are also involved in eradicating this social evil from the society. Now we will study Anti-Liquor Committee, which was set up in the year 1956. The committee gave a number of suggestions. A special committee was set up to look after this problem, and he gave a number of suggestions regarding this problem with a view to control the consumption of liquor. Some states took some steps, but the results were not encouraging. The state of Gujarat has achieved some success in enforcing prohibition laws. So many states, they adopted the measures, but most of the work but most of the achievement was made by state of Gujarat. He has achieved some level of success in eradicating this evil. On the whole, it can be said that the policy of prohibition has not been successful. It is a matter of grave concern that some sections of society which boast of modernization consider consumption of liquor as status symbol. So means now uh, in some societies, drinking liquor, yes, it is a status symbol. They consider that drinking these alcohols is a style of modernization. Means modernization is there, only the modern people they drink. So means they consider as a status symbol that if you are well, if you are good, if you are financially very strong, then only you can purchase the liquors. So it is considered as a status symbol. Concentrated efforts are needed to get rid of social evils like dowry and use of toxicants. In such matters, government efforts can yield fruitful results only when people are wide awake and cooperate with the government. How the government can be successful? It can be successful when the people made a cooperation with the government. Without people's cooperation or without people awareness, the government can also not eradicate these social evils. So it is the duty of the citizens also that whatever the laws which are framed by the Constitution of India, or whatever the laws which are made by our government for us, we should properly obey those rules and laws. Students, now we will do the exercises. First, just wrap up. Who made the constitution of our country? An assembly of elected representatives framed the constitution of our country. Second, laws are needed for the welfare and security of the people. The Supreme Court of India acts as the custodian of the Constitution of India, and it is the highest court of justice. Gandhiji left Sabarmati Ashram with 78 members of the ashram on 2nd March 1930 to broke the SALT law. Now exercises. First, in which year were the elections to the Constituent Assembly held? The correct answer is 1946. Second, who among the following was or were the distinguished leaders of the National Congress? All of them. The answer is all of them. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was also there. Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Azad. So the answer will be all of them. Third, which of the following are needed for the welfare and security of the people? Population, land, laws, order. The correct answer is laws. Fourth, which of the following acts as the custodian of the Constitution of India? High Court, Supreme Court, Prime Minister, Chief Minister. The correct answer is Supreme Court. Now true false. The Constituent Assembly was representative of all cross sections of the Indian people. The answer is true. The Dowry Prohibition Act was passed in the year 1916. The answer is false. The first meeting of Constituent Assembly took place on 9 December 1946. The answer is true. Gandhiji broke Salt law in the year 1903. The correct answer is false. So true, false, true, false. Fill in the blanks. Dash is a village situated on the sea coast of Gujarat. The correct answer is Dandi. There was a non-violent protest called Dash against the unjust law framed by the British government. The correct answer is Salt Satyagrah. Third, the unfinished work of the non-cooperative movement was carried forward by the civil disobedience movement. In the Northwest Frontier Province, the civil disobedience movement was led by Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, which is also known as Frontier Gandhi. So the answer is Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Students, today we have finished the course of PT1. In history, 2 chapters are there. In geography, 2 chapters. And in civics, 2 chapters are there. But chapter number 21, salient features of the Indian Constitution, it has been deleted. We will take afterwards. So now only 5 chapters are there in your PT1 syllabus. Which chapters are coming? Listen carefully. Chapter 1, when, where and how, the modern age. Second chapter, the rise and growth of the British power. Then from geography, chapter number 12, resources. Chapter number 13, natural resources, soil, water and wildlife. And in civics, chapter number 20, the Indian Constitution. Chapter 21 is not coming in your PT1. So students, today we have finished the course of PT1. Read the chapters very properly. Now, if any doubt is there, note down and you can ask me. Till then, read the chapters very properly. Learn all the question answers properly. And soon we will meet. Till then, have a good day.